Scoreless game, both teams with just one base hit. Dexter Fowler a knock back in the third inning for Team USA. Takahiro Aure a base hit in the bottom of the fifth inning for Japan, but that's it.
You know, I was talking, Eric, leading up to this inning about the Japanese players and their ability to assimilate with American baseball. And the thing you also, I think a lot of things that are lost on fans.
Jason Donald hits it to the shortstop. Up with it is Nakajima, out number one.
Picture yourself moving to another country and playing a sport, not knowing the language, and obviously these Japanese players that were familiar with the Western culture, most of them, and just as an example, Akinori Irimura navigates with an interpreter, and to not only change positions, but to change cultures and to come over and to try to be excellent outside your own comfort zone. I think really does you have to give them a lot of respect. It's not an easy thing to do.
Dexter Fowler is the batter. We were talking earlier about some of the earlier players who had played in the big leagues before Hideo Nomo. Basically, it was Masanori Murakami, pitched from 1964 and 65 with the San Francisco Giants. And he was not greeted with a hero's welcome when he went back to Japan. He was actually called a traitor by a number of people. And the thought of a Japanese player leaving Japan and playing in the States was not something that it is today, where it's something to aspire to and where the players are revered and thought of as idols and gods when they're playing in the United States. But instead, back then, it was like, well, why are you leaving Japan? We have a quality lead right here. Why would you ever want to go? And that was one of the reasons
they felt disrespected.
That was one of the reasons why for 30 years, between 1965 until Hideo Nomo came over and played with the Dodgers in 1995, there were no Japanese players in the big leagues. And how about this? The peak continues for Dexter Fowler. He's going to try for two. And Fowler puts on the brakes about halfway to second base and goes back to the bag. Good play by the left fielder Sato to keep Fowler on at first. Fowler now 2 for 2. He has hits in his last 6 at-bats for Team USA.
Japanese, obviously very prideful people, and I want to put this in its proper perspective. The Babe Ruth of Japan, Sadaharu Oh, has 868 home runs. And not born of Japanese origin.
Fowler's off with a pitch, and Barden skies it to left field. Sato on the warning track makes the play. Fowler will have to retreat to first.
Not of Japanese origin, of Chinese and Japanese origin. He had talked about the frustrations of not being fully accepted. This guy should have been an absolute rock star in Japanese major leagues, and he was for the most part, but at the end of the day, he never felt like he was fully accepted. I remember when we were going over there doing clinics in 1989, I had a chance to play golf with him and speak with him, and that was still something. I mean, he had long since been retired, but that was still something that really bothered him, because all he did was excel. He was the Japanese Babe Ruth. He is the home run leader of the Japanese major leagues, and he doesn't feel, or didn't feel, like he was fully accepted.
Nate Shearholtz hits this one on a line to center field. They're playing him deep, and the catch is made by Aoki about 380 feet away from home plate. Allowed out. Fowler has to go back to first. Team USA getting better swings here against Tanaka in the 6th inning. And along that same vein, Sadaharu Oh, 868 home runs, a whole heck of a lot of homers. To this day, that's still the record, obviously, in Japan. When a foreigner comes anywhere close to some of his single-season records, a lot of times it's difficult for him to break records because foreign players, rightly or wrongly, for the most part, would would come out and say that they don't feel like they get the same pitches as some of the other players in Japan get when they get close to breaking revered records.
Well, that's absolutely true, and players that have gone over to Japan and played have had a different strike zone for themselves than the rest of the lineup.
Yeah, there's some confusion here. I think that is 3 outs. I'm looking at my
because
scorecard here.
Barden flew out, as did Scherholz.
And Donald began the inning by bouncing out to the shortstop.
And we were talking about Sadaharu, but in the in the offing of all of that, this should be it. And why doesn't everyone on the field recognize that? Because usually defensive players can't wait to get off the field when that third out is recorded.
Yeah, the way this inning began, Jason Donald bounced out to the shortstop with 1 out. Fowler singled to left field, and then Barden flew out to left field for out number 2, and then Scherholz lined out to center for out number 3.
Be it. This is crazy.
The scoreboard has it correct.
This is absolutely crazy. I mean, we've talked about the nuances of the strike zone with these umpires. It looks like they have couriered people off the field and got it right. Well, at least we're